Today won't be focused on our losses. While we honor everybody's individual experiences and challenges over the past 15 months, today we'll tell the story of how we as a city, as a community, have come together. What we've done this past year, what we've learned, and what we're going to do to turn the corner. It's about how our response and our resilience will get us back to normal as a successful city and a strong community. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for being here today. It is my sincere pleasure to welcome you all to the 2021 Egan State of the City. While I welcome those who are attending virtually, I am truly excited to see you all here in person and to see your faces. It's been a long time. It's been a bit. How about those wild? Thank you all for being here. I also want to thank our sponsors, Enjoy Egan and the Dakota County Regional Chamber of Commerce. Thank you for helping our most important businesses navigate through a challenging time. And to Maureen, the Chamber's fearless leader, who can't be here today because she's busy kicking cancer's at, well, you know. Maureen, we wish you the very best, and we know that this is a battle that you'll win. To my colleagues on the City Council, it's a pleasure to be here with you today as well. After a year of Tuesday nights in the box, I'm excited about our work ahead for our community in person. And I'm pleased to assure you that I will not be on mute, that no one will judge your background, and that I am not a cat. I'd also like to acknowledge our elected officials at the county, state, and federal level who are in the room and who are watching virtually as well. Joe Atkins, thanks for being here. Jim Carlson, great to see you. I think Angie Craig was around here somewhere, or maybe she'll be showing up, but thank you all for being here today. And thank you for the continued partnership and everything that you've done for our community in understandably challenging circumstances. And of course, my family. We have spent entirely too much time together in the last year. But I am so proud of not only surviving, but growing with you. I am truly humbled by your support and your help. Thank you for being here, Ian and Janelle. The story of this past year in our community and the state of our city is one of resilience. Our individual resilience, of course, but also our collective resilience, the resilience of our businesses and our city, the organization, and the people who make up the city of Egan. We haven't been immune to the challenges of the past year, and there is work still to be done. But because of our resilient nature, we have every reason to be hopeful and optimistic. During the height of the dumpster fire that was 2020, when normal was an uncertain speck of light at the end of a long, dark, and winding tunnel, Egan residents kept the faith, and while distant, did not become divided. So while so many of you adapted how you worked, lived your lives, and connected with one another, so too did we as a city. Our focus? How we could be flexible and innovative to best serve our community through a challenging and uncertain time. There's really good audio with this video, I swear.
Our planning and resiliency paid off as we innovated to maintain public services remotely. Our IT team went into overdrive, so staff who could work from home did so. Public safety employees shifted to masks and other measures to care for themselves and the public. Our community collaborated by making masks and donating them to our staff. Public Works kept the water running and the sewer pipes draining. We adapted on-site work to continue maintaining streets and our other infrastructure. We shifted more programs and services online, such as permit inspections, so you could still get what you needed and stay safe. We thought our remodeling was done at City Hall, but there was more work to do. We now have in-person services. Our staff will be standing behind plexiglass walls and masks, but trust me, there's a smile behind that mask. They want to serve you. Mail-in voting was launched with processing of all Eagan ballots at City Hall. City Council and other public meetings moved from City Hall to online. People could watch safely and call in to participate.
You can. You're going single leg.
Our Eagan Community Center fitness staff moved online too, creating videos to keep people active, healthy, and engaged. The city helped businesses reopen by approving expanded outdoor fitness classes and outdoor eating.
And Eagan was kind enough to grant us an outdoor patio in our parking lot, kind of a temporary type situation until things get somewhat back to whatever normal is going to be in the future.
And again, it speaks to the resiliency of our business community. Through the private-public partnership, we have been able to sustain and support the local economy.
Hi there.
Favorite activities like Market Fest were brought back when we adapted to make them safe. Eagan's park and outdoor recreation activities became more popular than ever. We innovated to shift recreation programs to activities you could do at home. Meanwhile, we adapted so we could reopen indoor activities at the community center and civic arena while protecting your health. We kept our community moving forward in 2020.
Please join me in thanking the City of Eagan staff for the adjustments and innovations they made and for continuing to get the job done while facing the same pandemic adversity, tumult, and challenges at home that we all faced in our own personal lives as well. Thank you. "2020 reframed our understanding of essential workers. When most of the world went remote, our police and firefighters continued to be in person 24/7, 365. And in the face of literally unknown danger, a new and potentially lethal virus. As healthcare workers and grocery clerks worked on the front lines, so too did our police department, responding to nearly 50,000 calls. And our fire department responded to nearly 5,000 calls. Working with public health agencies at the county and state and federal level, members of our team led by the city's emergency manager, Jeremy Klein, helped to implement and lead our emergency pandemic response. But doing this essential work also heightened the exposure of our public safety officers. Across the state and nation, public safety personnel were hit by COVID-19 at disproportional rates, creating challenges for police stations and firehouses to address and overcome. Eagan was no different. Governor Walz invited Eagan Police Chief Roger New to share the pandemic's impact on our police department and to ask residents to help stop the spread of the virus so that our public safety responders could continue to do their job safely.
The pandemic has hit our agency especially hard. We had a total of 19 staff members that were impacted by the virus, which is about 20% of my staff members. Everyone knows, and we've heard a lot over the summer months, that training is an important part of law enforcement, and we've had to limit some of the training that we do, and in some cases we've just had to cancel it altogether. Our enforcement efforts have been modified. We've had to shift those to make sure that our staff members are safe when they're interacting with community members. But one of the biggest unintended consequences that I think many of us in law enforcement have experienced is the challenges and the stresses that it presents at home and the impacts on our families. And every day a police officer goes to work, just as the medical providers, the paramedics, and the firefighters, we all risk bringing that virus home to our families. And, I just simply would like to offer my thanks to the family for their support and helping support law enforcement officers get through these challenging times. And on a personal note, on Thanksgiving, I lost a dear friend and a community member named Larry to COVID-19. One of the last things that Larry did was he called a number of his family members and he asked them to stay at home, wear a mask, and be safe. I would like to extend my condolences to Larry and his family. And I would like to ask everyone to please do your part to help us get through these challenging times.
Roger, thank you, and so sorry for the loss of Larry. Thank you as well to our police and fire departments for being some of our strongest Mask Up Egan advocates. Now, while we talk about public safety, it's hard not to know that 2 days ago, May 25th, marked 1 year since the killing of George Floyd, and I want to talk about that. We're barely a month past the murder conviction of Derek Chauvin, and only a week more past the tragic killing of Daunte Wright. The killing of George Floyd in particular impacted us all. While I don't want to suggest that the Egan police had anything to do with these tragic events, we cannot in good faith turn away. As the COVID pandemic's disproportionate impact on Black and brown people laid bare unacceptable health inequities and their root causes, these events in parallel exposed again the cultural pandemic of racism and violence. 9 minutes and 30 seconds of inhumanity just up the road created an international moment of inflection. While in the gravity of the moment, police across the country were rightly so once again being asked about the intersection of policing and race, Egan community members too reached out demanding change. While some communities may have been grappling with these issues for the first time, I want to share that our Egan Police Department has already been doing the work. The fact is, many of the changes people demanded are initiatives our police department embarked on years ago. Crisis intervention and de-escalation training have been ingrained in our department's use of force training for well over 10 years. And in 2016, the department made it mandatory that officers attend implicit bias training. The police department has also participated in community conversations to hear the concerns of residents with the goal of bridging gaps that exist within our community. These initiatives have led to the development of other community forums, one which was scheduled for March of 2020 that was focused on mental health and those living with autism. The department has also partnered with Life Development Resources to create a mental health response team. It's a team of a police officer and a therapist who make follow-up visits with residents who have gone through a crisis. This is some of the work that our police department is doing to ensure that our officers are treating people with dignity and respect, while also taking proactive steps to mitigate a problem before it arises. I'm proud of the professionalism of our police department, the commitment of the staff, and the work that they have done, as well as the leadership of Police Chief Roger New. The tragic death of Daunte Wright is a reminder that the work of building a 21st century police department continues. A department and a community that protects and serves the rights and dignity of all, without regard or favor or consequence for the differences in race, religion, sexual orientation, or identification now and into the future. Nearly 1 in 4 residents of Egan are people of color. To these residents, I say you matter. Your lives, your dignity, your rights, your contributions to our community matter. And we are committed to serving and protecting all of our residents. The work of public safety officers is always adapting to the needs of the community and the needs of the moment. That was no different last April in the early days of the pandemic, when our fire department stepped up and worked with community volunteers to collect and distribute over 5,000 masks to congregate care, medical, and other facilities with essential workers. This is just further proof that our transition to a full-time department with 36 EMT-trained firefighters, 3 chiefs at 3 stations, is working and serving our community's needs. This new structure includes cross-training firefighters and fire inspectors, so they aren't just fighting fires, but they're working to prevent them. Now, highly trained EMTs are responding to all medical calls in our community, freeing up police to focus on other non-medical calls and duties. Our medics often arrive ahead of our private ambulance service. The way that Eagan Fire provides service now and the layers of service are working so well that the League of Minnesota Cities honored the department for excellence in 2020. It is no surprise to me that our residents that the department was honored with that award. Here's how the League told their story.
The results of the study, we did the Citygate staffing study in 2017. It was not only a staffing study, but it looked at coverage. So where should our stations be? How should we deploy our staffing? Well, in Eagan, there's about 5,000 medical calls a year. And prior to the study, a private ambulance system and the Eagan Police Department would respond to all the medicals in Eagan. And what the study really found out was that we should be switching to a career model fire department in Eagan, augmented by some part-time staff, but that all of our full-time firefighters should be at least EMTs, emergency medical technicians, or paramedics, and that we should take over the primary role of responding to medical calls and free up the police department to respond to police-related calls. Really, from about 2007 on, we were noticing that we were losing more volunteers than we were gaining. So we were in this constant state of recruiting and trying to retain volunteers. We were losing 15 volunteers a year. I always said that we needed a predictable, reliable, and sustainable model, and we didn't have that with the volunteer system. So that's when we decided to start looking at something different. So today we're at 36 full-time firefighters. We have a little less than 30 part-time firefighters left. That went from, there was 97 when we did our study in 2017 to 30 today, so you can see how quickly that changes.
And we reduced our response times to calls now in half. And that really is what the goal is to make sure that we're delivering the fire protection that our community needs. And it's really helpful and useful, and we're really pleased with it.
Right after this new model started from this station, we're dispatched to a fire alarm in an apartment building. Under the old model, it would have taken us 14 to 16 minutes to get a fire truck on scene. The crew from this station got there in 4 minutes.
Eagan's a really proud community, and for years was very proud of having the second largest volunteer fire department in the state of Minnesota. And that kind of pride and that kind of community connection and involvement is something that you have to be sensitive to as you try to make this kind of transition. So, you know, with the council, they bought into the new staffing model fairly quickly, and then we had to go about figuring out how we're going to fund it.
I think there's 2 fortunate things there from a finance standpoint. One is Eagan was growing tremendously at this period of time with commercial growth. So our tax base was going up, which helps offset the cost of adding staff. And then I mentioned the federal grant that we were able to get and pay for 18 firefighters for the first 3 years. Because I wish in many ways that we could still be a volunteer department, but we simply can't be. So, going into this, you have to have a long-term plan, and you have to communicate both internally and externally about the process. So, it's working with the council. It's no surprises. It's developing that long-term vision of where we want to get and just working towards it a little piece at a time.
The chief briefly mentioned a call in the video where they were able to respond in 4 minutes. But what wasn't mentioned is that on that evening, Sunday, January 12th, the crew's quick action training and preparation resulted in them not only extinguishing the fire, but clearing an unconscious man from the scene and saving that person's life. The new model is literally saving lives. Today marks another big transition in our fire department's history. This is Chief Scott's final day as our fire chief. He has honorably served our community for over 35 years. In 2018, Chief Scott's peers named him the Fire Chief of the Year in Minnesota, and it's no surprise to anybody who has worked with him. And our residents echo that sentiment, again rating the quality of our fire department at 96%. This will also mark the first time in 50 years that we don't have a member of the Scott family as an Eagan firefighter. Mike, it's a proud legacy that you and your family leave. You leave large boots to fill. Chief Scott, thank you for all of your contributions to our community. Thank you, Mike. Best of luck. You know, before we even knew what community spread was or how to social distance, the election of 2020 was setting up to be, well, how do you say, momentous. In March, as the pandemic changed how we did everything, from sports and entertainment to work and shopping, elections changed too. First in how candidates campaigned, and then in how we voted. From Minnesota's first presidential primary in March to an August primary and election day this past November, the frenzied state of the election and the logistical challenges of voting reached new heights. Here's how we responded.
You know, in 2020, the pandemic really threw us a curveball. We had to review all of our operations, make sure that we were providing things in a safe manner, review how we were doing things so that voters felt confident and secure in how they were voting, whatever method they chose.
Have a great day.
While it was challenging, we really rose to the occasion. The City of Eagan's turnout in 2020 broke our records. We had over 87% turnout, which meant that over 43,000 people in Eagan cast a ballot. In our polling places, we made sure that all of our election judges were wearing the appropriate face masks. We ensured that our voters were also wearing face masks, or if they preferred not to wear face masks, that they were using the curbside voting process. Early voting in Eagan has always been a very popular option. And then luckily we had great weather for the most part, and so we were able to make use of the space outside of City Hall as well and limit the number of people physically in our building at any one time, just so that we could keep people farther apart and keep them safe. I'm so proud of the staff here at Eagan and the team that we have, and never was there a time where someone said, well, this is crazy, we can't do this. It was always, okay, here's an issue, let's figure this out. And we came through on the end, just a strong team, just like we were at the beginning, and we've learned so much through the 2020 election process that we can take moving forward.
In the end, in the context of a pandemic, Christina Scipione, our city staff, and hundreds of volunteers, like so many others in cities and towns throughout America, successfully, and without the fanfare of police, fire, or healthcare workers, safely conducted the highest voter turnout election in our city's history. Please join me in recognizing the challenge and commitment of these essential and dedicated to democracy election officials and volunteers. Thank you. And if you'll indulge me, because I have some experience winning and losing elections. A lot's been made of the outcome of the 2020 presidential election. I draw attention to that because draw attention to our Eagan elections, because in this country, we don't have a singular national election. Council members Fields and Supina were on the exact same ballot as Joe Biden and Donald Trump. Our elections nationally are a series of thousands of elections, in hundreds of thousands of precincts, districts, cities, towns, and counties across the country. Elected officials at all levels should affirm that each of those elections reflect the will of the voters, and by so doing, honor the dedication of the Republican, Democratic, and nonpartisan election volunteers that ran them. Anything less is a danger to our democracy and a disservice to the dedication and commitment of our neighbors that worked so hard on the election. Beyond elections, the pandemic had a huge impact on our individual and collective economies. As a city, we knew we needed to act and help those businesses and workers that needed it. The city knew that businesses were adjusting and surviving during COVID-19, and so we had to refocus our priorities. As partners, we moved quickly to adjust policies, practices, and standards and provide flexibility for new operational strategies. So here's what we did. We innovated to make permitting and inspections virtual. We temporarily waived zoning requirements to allow and fast-track temporary outdoor dining. And we provided flexibility for additional curbside pickup options and outdoor fitness areas. Rather than the usual 60-day approval process for outdoor space, restaurants completed a temporary outdoor dining registration. Space and seating added during this time was another lifeline for many businesses. We began our campaign to keep local businesses open and prevent the spread of the virus with our Mask Up Eagan campaign. And we moved meetings virtual so that we could keep the city of Eagan open for business and moving forward. Adjustments weren't the only thing needed. Businesses needed relief. So on top of that, we suspended late fees for utilities, and we decreased the 2021 liquor license fees with a 35% credit to recognize the unprecedented difficulties of our restaurants. We also knew we had to identify ways where we could infuse dollars, and specifically federal CARES grant dollars, into our economy. And I want to just take a moment here and thank Representative Angie Cred for working so hard to get that money into our community and communities across the country. As a council, we directed staff to find a way to get that money to businesses that needed it as quickly as possible. Here's what the staff did and the result of that work.
My name's Tim Quady, and we're here at Blue Rhino Studio. I've been the owner here. We're a custom artistic design and fabrication studio. We focus primarily on work for natural history museums around the world. We create dinosaurs, animals, dioramas, plants, anything that captures people's imaginations.
My name is Christina Miller, and I am the Executive Director here at U.S. Math Recovery Council. U.S. Math Recovery Council offers courses for educators, primarily educators in K through 8, and primarily in mathematics.
Hi, I'm Ramon Ruiz. I'm the owner of Andiamo Italian Ristorante in Eagan.
With over 2,300 businesses and nonprofits that call Eagan home, we know that our success is driven by thriving, large, mid-sized, and small businesses. Our world changed in 2020, including the outlook for many businesses and nonprofits in our community.
I never thought it was going to be so hard to run a business with this pandemic going on right now. We've been definitely experiencing, some different times. We've been doing a lot of catering, a lot of takeout. We do whatever it takes, to bring revenue up.
Everything changed once COVID happened because we do a lot of international work, and the United States was a little later to the COVID infection game. A lot of projects that we were working on, we started getting run with museums possibly closing, and then in March, kind of everything did around the world.
As soon as COVID hit, we needed to take all of our face-to-face courses and transfer them to an online and virtual environment.
CARES is authorized by the federal government to help lessen the impact of COVID on businesses and other organizations. Businesses submitted online applications, and we worked with them to verify that they met the requirements set forth by the federal government. Usually when the city develops new programs, we spend months doing it. We look at what other cities have done and look at the best practices and what to do and what not to do. In this case, no one had done this before, and we had a matter of weeks to create a program and deliver funding.
There really wasn't a lot of time to get done what we had to get done, and it took a lot of coordination between all the different departments. We were kind of the last piece of the puzzle, and getting the check cut was a great way to finish out the project with us to be able to write the checks and get them out the door.
All in all, between the time of application submittal and when we were able to send a grant, it was less than a month.
When I got the email that we got the chance to apply for the CARES money, and we apply, and thanks to the community, they know us, what we do here and what we've been doing in the past years. We got 10 grants, so that really helped me to keep going.
The timing on this grant was perfect. As the pandemic continued to go, month after month, it became increasingly difficult to maintain staffing and to support both our local vendors. Each of our courses has a kit that a teacher receives. Those materials, like handbooks and things like that, are all sourced locally as much as possible.
The Egan CARES grant kept everybody fed and employed. It literally, there was a lot of months in this last year that were pretty scary, and so anybody who was willing to step up and help us out, I just can't possibly express how grateful we are to people, the community, and investing in our survival.
You got to really focus and helping your employees and making sure you're doing the right thing to be safe. We paying bills, we paying employees. We get in there, but I know it's not easy to keep doing what we're doing.
We get to come here every day. We get to make dinosaurs. It's a whole group of adult children. So allowing us to not have to cut people from a staff or cut our work week down or not be able to be as aggressive as we were with pricing some of these things just to keep moving. It's just another one of those pieces that made our life possible.
Truly, the forethought and the emphasis that the City of Egan puts into their businesses has really made this just a really great experience, our 2 to 3 years that we've been in here.
We in finance kind of like to be behind the scenes. That's our nature. But when we did this project with everybody, all the other different departments, it felt like we were actually right on the front lines. It felt like we were really making a difference.
It was one of the most positive things that we could do to just help the businesses in our community.
I'd like to extend a huge thank you to the City of Egan, to the community of Egan, for the CARES Act grant, for this support for us as small businesses, as nonprofits inside of the community.
I'm here to thank all the community in Egan. We have a lot of regular customers that have been here since day one. People from the City Hall have been really helpful. Thank you for supporting Andiamo, and keep doing it.
My job is to employ people and do things, and it got pretty scary for quite a while. So when Egan stepped up and offered to help us out, it's incredibly personal to me. And I can't express enough gratitude. So to have the community come back and offer to help us out meant the world. It meant we got to keep working.
I want to thank the Chamber and Dakota County in particular for their partnership in that critically important effort. I also want to thank all the businesses, Tim, Christina, Ramon, who shared their honest and real stories about the impact of the CARES funding and the adjustments that they had to make to stay afloat during the pandemic. Can the owners and the employees of the businesses in that video please stand? And while we're at it, let's give a round of applause to all that have made it through a challenging year. Our efforts had an impact. While they helped businesses directly, they also helped to infuse hope and optimism. While planning this speech, I specifically said that I'm really kind of tired of sharing the news of our permit valuation numbers, our bond rating, or our residents' perceptions of our economy. But it's important to know, in 2020, during the pandemic, residents had as much confidence in our economy and the direction of our city as ever before. and over $214 million was invested in our community. That's the fourth highest number in our city's history. And once again, we received a AAA bond rating from Moody's, which continues to show our financial strength and stability. But there's a long way to go for some businesses, the hard-hit hospitality sector in particular. So, what's your plan for lunch today? Gonna go to an Egan restaurant, maybe Andiamo? Maybe take some food to go. Perhaps. Well, our 60 parks are a great place for a picnic. How about that transition? What rain? Well, in the last year, our parks have become even more essential. But you already know that. In fact, you, Egan residents, shared that 97% of you are visiting our parks. And 3% of you need to get out more often. Even more to the point, in a pandemic, Egan residents rated our parks and recreation opportunities higher than any other surveyed community's residents did in 2020. I'm not surprised. We knew and you validated that you needed our parks last year more than ever before. So we knew locally the work of our parks and recreation teams was essential. These teams stayed focused, and through innovation, adjustment, and creativity, they provided much-needed connections in our community at a time when our connections were being tested. Let's take a look.
All of 2020, very memorable year. I actually had my daughter signed up to do the Preschool in the Park summer program, and she'd done it the summer before, absolutely loved it, and so we were looking forward to it again.
Imagine a group of professionals that their livelihood and what they provide for a community is bringing everybody together. All of a sudden to be told, no, we cannot do that any longer. We need to look at and provide and find a new way. And our team did a great job in utilizing their creativity to find ways to continue serving the community during a time where past practice was not allowed.
So the preschool stay-at-home kids, I definitely heard about them through the Preschool in the Park program. My 5-year-old was super excited about it, and she immediately started asking, Mom, can we get this? Can we get this?
Our at-home kits were designed by our staff from the Egan Art House and our preschool staff as a way to engage with families. They collectively pulled together different aspects of programs that people are able to complete at home through guided instructions and exploration of the world around them. Our recreation team spends a lot of time and thought going through the different activities that are included in the kit. It was important for the recreation team to continue to provide a service to the Egan families and households throughout this global pandemic, and is something we continue to do.
I am just incredibly thankful that we have a city that cares so much to offer these programs and make them available at a reasonable cost too. Just a wonderful opportunity that we have here in this town, and I'm very thankful for.
The Egan Community Center, similar to a lot of different city services throughout the pandemic, has done its effort to try to adapt and successfully provide safe space for both residents, customers, and the different activity users.
Going to the gym during the pandemic was interesting. So I did stuff at home, and then when they started to slowly open back up, that was, music to my ears, because I love to work out. After a while, I kind of got used to it, because you had to sign up for the classes online, or you could call in, and they could, schedule you for a time slot. And I got good about jumping on there every day to sign myself up, and they were top notch as far as how they handled everything. There was signs throughout the gym on, distancing and, make sure you wipe down the machines. And so, I commend them for that, because, they obviously care, and they want to make sure that, everyone working out there feels safe. I felt safe going back to the community center.
I've been so, again, impressed with the creativity and the ability of a generation to hop online to do virtual programs, but also come back and wear masks and figure out how they can successfully play pickleball in the morning, as well as volunteer and be part of a drive-through event maybe in the afternoon if we're not able to host those events on site anymore.
the hardy people of Parks and Recreation stand out of the lower half of the community center. We've ordered, you know, like if it's pizza, what kind of pizza we want. They put our name on it. They give us a time for the pickup, and then we tootle by there, and city staff hands it out.
One of our more popular, again, is our Market Fest that happens Wednesday nights in the summertime outside. We see so many people come and, again, make a night out of that, get their vegetables, walk a trail, and proud to see Eagan residents take advantage of.
Restrictions were lifted a little bit for the parks. We kind of got that green light to start to be able to go to some of those spaces again. And I decided, you know what, we're gonna make an adventure out of this. And to start to peel back the onion and all these hidden gems, there's literally parks and playgrounds right underneath your fingerprint. Like, it's right there. And they're so accessible. There's so many locations. It just kind of brings some adventure to our day-to-day lives.
I think all these programs are just because they want people out, they want people to come, and at least I've got some dates on my calendar every week for yoga, and if I want to go to coffee and conversation, yeah, I can't say enough about them. I think they're really doing a very, very good job. And I'm crying.
In my 25 years with the city, this has probably been the biggest challenge that I've seen, but I give my staff credit. Our model right from the word go was, let's keep the skates on the ice. We had to do a lot of updates to that facility, and we still got a little bit to finish up in the spring, but we're working on now with staff as to how do we safely run that complex this summer. Our goal is to get that thing open and have patrons be able to use it.
I'm so proud to be a part of this team and able to come to this community every day for work. We want to be there for the community and engage with the community as much as possible.
Our community will continue to invest in the amenities that led to virtually every Eagan resident, literally 98%, viewing our quality of life here positively. Another aspect that makes our quality of life strong is our natural environment and everything that we do to sustain our waterways, grow our green canopy, and further our sustainability. Eagan is a unique community in many ways, but one very specific way is that our community's commitment to protect, invest in, and preserve our natural spaces. So much so that our residents prioritize our environment as much as our economy or public safety. 93% of residents believe that our natural environment needs to continue to be a top city priority. And nearly every resident rates the quality of our natural environment positively. 2020 was also the 30-year anniversary of our water resources team. It was a year in which we had hoped to have many events celebrating our natural resources like lakes, wetlands, and aquatic life, considered by many to be among Eagan's most valuable resources. For 30 years, the Water Quality Division has actively worked to protect and manage nearly 1,200 lakes, ponds, and wetlands throughout the city of Eagan. Through planning, maintenance, treatment, and public education programs, they help keep our water bodies healthy and a resource for everyone. Eagan's also a city of trees. It's part of our identity. And as a matter of fact, Eagan has one of the strongest urban canopies in the state. Ensuring that our urban forest, ensuring the health of our urban forest involves preservation, management, and maintenance. But cities across our region are battling emerald ash borer, and we're no different. As you know, unfortunately, this is a battle we cannot win, and it's advancing faster than expected. To limit the danger and damage of infested, rotting, and falling trees, our forestry team is removing more than 2,000 ash trees in public property as quickly as possible. But it's a partnership between us and you.
Matt Sethi. This is my wife, Nicole Sethi. It is really sad to lose a tree of this age and size, and to know that we could have probably done a little bit more to keep it longer. This spring, we noticed some wear on our tree and some spots that were questionable.
Our experience with the city has been great. I contacted them. They got back to me right away and were willing to come out. I think it was like the next day, which was awesome. And honestly, I was surprised. I didn't realize about this service, so it was really great to have someone be able to come help us out and teach us a lot more about our trees.
Our green canopy is one of the things that people love most about Eagan, and we hear that time and time again. One of the services that Eagan Forestry provides is consulting and protecting of those resources. It's kind of funny that you don't notice it until you start really looking for it.
Yep.
We look at boulevard trees or private property trees as well, and are able to provide advice and guidance on what to do and how to deal with EAB infestations. It's really the sad piece of this story is the loss of the trees. It's a really traumatic process for a lot of people.
I'm really sad. It's harder for me for sure, but I think when you start to look at it, you think about the health, you think also about the liability. If it's not doing good, it's gonna be dropping more sticks. That worries me too. One of the things I'm sad about with losing that tree is I actually wanted to put a swing up for my 1.5-year-old lake. So we're gonna have to find some other means of putting a swing someplace else, but luckily also Eagan has 56 wonderful parks and playgrounds that we love to visit.
The key to protecting our natural resource and green canopy is educating homeowners on how to identify ash trees, specifically for emerald ash borer, and how to recognize the signs of the infestation.
Don't wait. I think that's our regret, right? Is that we wish we would have contacted sooner.
He has shared so much information, helps us plan for the future, knowing that it takes a long time to grow a tree.
That's going to be the key, redeveloping our urban canopy. It's most recognizable, and that's what people love about Eagan.
So it's up to all of us, individuals and organizations, to help. Plant trees. Let's keep growing our green roof here in Eagan. All of these efforts have led to Eagan maintaining the highest level in Minnesota's Green Steps program. It's an honor to have this recognition, and it shows the commitment and teamwork of our community and our residents to moving in the direction of energy and resource conservation, innovation, and environmental awareness. Teamwork is an asset that we value greatly here in the city of Eagan. We can't fight EAB and preserve our waters and natural resources without it. And specifically, Public Works is a great partner in all of these efforts. And they're not shy to tell you about the enthusiasm for the work that they do.
The city of Eagan takes a lot of pride in the services we provide to those who live, work, and play here in Eagan. And our Public Works team makes it their mission every day to provide the services we need. We make Eagan a safe, healthy, vibrant place to live by providing quality, sustainable services. This includes keeping roadways safe, passable, and efficient, no matter what time of year. And ensuring the water flowing to homes is clean and safe, leaves efficiently, and is treated on the way out. We've spent the past 30 years protecting and treating the water throughout our city so you can enjoy our greatest features. We believe in connecting all of us for every mode of transportation and all abilities with miles of sidewalks, trails, and paths, making every corner of our city accessible. We can do all of this because of our bold vision that includes leading, learning, and serving. And this allows us to shine by providing exceptional value and service to Eagan. And we share our community's core values of respect, teamwork, safety, and integrity. We make these investments to take care of our immediate needs and to look and serve the future of our community. We do this to move our city forward, so you can move forward. We are Eagan Public Works.
Well, so there you have it. They really love their work. For all the things the pandemic has impacted, because of the ways our public works team responded, the impact on our roads, bridges, pipes remained virtually unchanged. Our commitment to fund paving, building, maintaining, and creating connections also remained unchanged. So when it snowed, they plowed. When the leaves fell, they swept. When the potholes formed, they patched them, and when Mother Nature threw them a water main break in sub-zero weather, that didn't stop them either. They just dressed for the weather and fixed them. With slight modifications, they did their work at the same top quality level that they always do. I'd love to say something flashy about their pandemic response, but to no one's surprise, they carried on as they always do at the highest level. And I know that you're not surprised because in the latest community survey, residents rated our public works, infrastructure, and ability to move through Eagan at or near the top nationally in nearly every category. It validates the work that they do and the vision they have to ensure that everyone has access to these essential functions and connections. But the public works team isn't the only one connecting our community. Never has the need for digital connection been stronger than over the past year. I'm proud to say that our teams not only continued to provide service, but also adapted to internal and external needs quickly. This was in large part thanks to our IT, communication, and geographic information systems teams. COVID changed the way that we work, but it also changed the way that you work with us. We now had tens of thousands of people entering our online front door monthly. So our teams got to work to make sure that you had what you needed without having to visit City Hall. They created avenues for engagement and feedback in a time when in-person meetings were simply not an option. They ensured that forms, permits, reviews, and processes could be completed virtually. And they created digital applications to keep crews out in the field and able to maintain social distance. I also need to take a moment and specifically thank our IT department. At the end of 2019 and the beginning of 2020, pre-pandemic, mind you, they were given the task to move employees back from their remote locations to a newly renovated City Hall. At the time, this was considered an epic undertaking. Then, just 12 weeks later, we asked them to move as many employees as we could, as quickly as we could, to work from home and remotely. They rose to the occasion as well. The hours were long, but their impact was monumental. They kept staff working and safe, which meant that we could keep you and Eagan moving forward. This work allowed us to stay connected with our customers, and we know it worked. This past November, at the height of the pandemic, the community rated our customer service and our information services higher than ever before and among the top nationally. Out of necessity, our community connected digitally more than ever, and our community relied on both new and traditional resources to do it. Then there's ETV. Eagan Television's mission has always been to connect you to our community events, news, arts, sports, and more through TV, online, and social media. As you know, sports were a little different for our high school athletes this year. While spectators couldn't enter the facilities, ETV brought the games to you. In fact, over 100,000 viewers tuned in to ETV this past sports season. And their story doesn't end with being the ESPN of Eagan. They brought bright spots to our community through Positively Egan videos, and they shared how to access services during the pandemic. Today, they've helped tell our story of resilience in 2020. So thank you to ETV for producing and connecting this program today, and our communication team for putting together our State of the City presentation. One year ago today, for many, could be pinpointed as our darkest and perhaps most uncertain time in 2020. We'd endured 2 months of virtually complete shutdown, eerily quiet streets, and working, schooling, socializing, and engaging almost exclusively from the confines of our homes with so many screens. We were more socially distant and more disconnected than ever before. Johns Hopkins was reporting America's COVID death total passing 100,000. Protesters in Minneapolis and across the country were calling for justice in the wake of George Floyd's murder. We all watched as nightfall brought violence and destruction to an already suffering community. And fear and division would increasingly infect our body politic, finding host in the pandemics of COVID-19, racism, and violence. At that time, none of us could have predicted the uncertainty and the challenge of the year ahead. Or, by contrast, the hopefulness and opportunity that we feel today. Today, over 288 million, nearly 50% of Americans have received at least their first dose of vaccine. 2.8 million, nearly 64% of eligible Minnesotans have done the same. Tomorrow, most of the state's COVID restrictions will end. And every day, masking requirements recede further into our past. The end of the pandemic is close at hand. We've already gone well on our way back to normal, gathering with friends and family, going to restaurants, having graduation parties, taking vacations, and being able to go see the Twins game live at Target Field, or perhaps thinking better of it. It's your choice. In the coming days and weeks, city staff will return to City Hall, and the council will resume in-person meetings. Soon, people will resume shaking hands, hugging, meeting with a colleague in person without a mask or 6 feet between them. After more than a year where being together and connected was the enemy, we are now working through the process of reconnecting and re-engaging. You've been doing it in your own lives and maybe even in your own businesses. And we're reconnecting as a community as well, with events like this and others to come this summer. We have weathered the storm. We've survived, and we're recovering and getting back to normal. At the beginning of today's speech, I talked about the state of our city as a product of our city's success as an organization and the strength of our community, of our collective connection to one another, our shared experiences and values. As excited as we are to get past the academic and get past the pandemic and exuberantly embrace getting back to normal, it's important to the state of our city to be thoughtful, reflective, and intentional about what the new normal is and what the challenges on the road to full recovery will be. I'd submit that while not assured, the continued success, resilience, and innovation of the city of Eagan has been very much demonstrated in this past year. And we have good reason to be confident in our city's continued success. Perhaps the more pressing or curious question is, how have our community and the communities with Eagan weathered or even experienced the storm of 2020? How, if at all, has a year of isolation and separation from one another impacted us as a community? have our experiences of the pandemic been the same? If our community is to recover and grow stronger, it'll be because we've interrupted the enthusiasm of simply getting back to normal. We can recommit ourselves to recovering and becoming a still stronger community. My guess is that it's fair that we can all fairly quickly describe how we think the experience of this past year has changed us, or our perspectives and our priorities. Crisis and pandemic can be clarifying events that help identify what's important, what we take for granted, and what we need to do. Answering those same questions as a community is a little bit more difficult. It requires us to step outside of our own experiences of the last year and open ourselves up to the experiences of others from whom we've been notably less connected to for some 15 months. How was their year different? What will their recovery require? What will the new normal we all face be like? How will we measure the success of our shared recovery, and how will we know when we've recovered? In the earliest days of the pandemic, we broadened our collective understanding of essential workers, valuing and praising not just police officers, firefighters, doctors, and nurses, but maybe for the first time, we became more sensitive to the essentialness of coffee shop baristas, of grocery store workers, of delivery drivers that could not work from or stay home, and was, by circumstance, more at risk. The essentialness of their work put them on the front line of uncertainty and risk. Previously taken for granted, these newly visible essential workers often find themselves working on the lower end of the wage scale. How will we as a community recognize and honor their experience of the pandemic? Will we continue to view them as essential within our community? 1 in 4 Eagan residents are people of color. The early months of this pandemic laid bare the health, housing, education, and employment inequities that exist between white Minnesotans and our neighbors of color. COVID-19 took disproportionate tolls on people of color because of these long-tolerated inequities. Left unaddressed, the pandemic we've just been through will widen those gaps and make black and brown people even more vulnerable in the future. What will we do to authentically address systematic racism and the inequities that we've borne painful witness to in the course of this last year? George Floyd's killing a year ago dramatically elevated this to a basic issue of human rights and justice. Last month's verdict is but small measure of the justice and recovery that is required. As we get back to normal, we must come together and work to ensure that black and brown Minnesotans, Asian Americans, and Pacific Islanders are in fact and circumstance as safe, economically secure, and welcome as white Minnesotans and Americans. As a nation, as individuals, and as a community, 2020 plus was long. At times, very dark and extremely tiring. We should be proud individually and as a community that we've been able to do the things we needed to get by and survive. We should maybe not beat ourselves up for being a little heavier, a little tired, or even a little scared to be returning to normal or navigating an altered reality. And we should celebrate and be excited to enjoy soccer games and go to weddings and enjoy a concert once again. If life has teachable moments, we've had a teachable year. We've learned a lot about public health, about ourselves, about our strengths and our vulnerabilities. And perhaps most importantly, our ability to help and care for one another, sewing thousands of masks for our neighbors, providing hope and comfort through displays of community solidarity and support, providing world-class opera from the balcony of an Eagan townhouse. We've also learned in this extended time of social distance and disconnection just how important our connections are, and to not take them for granted. So as we reemerge, my sincerest hope is that we hold on to one another and remember the words of Franklin Delano Roosevelt as he led the country out of a massive and divisive depression. The test of our progress, Roosevelt said, is not whether we add more to the abundance of those who have much. It is whether we provide enough for those who have too little. Eagan is blessed with success and abundance. And even in a year-long pandemic experience, because of our resilience, that success remains on solid footing. When we fully return to normal, hopefully in Eagan State of the City on the third Thursday of March, St. Patrick's Day in 2022, by the way, I look forward to reporting to you the state of our city's continued success. But perhaps more importantly, more hopefully, how our community became even stronger for the 2020 plus 5 months that we've all shared. Thank you.
Even though we're in the middle of a pandemic, you can't mute or stop an artistic soul.
I like to think, it's good for the soul to do something for somebody else.
Thank you to everyone who's helping right now, Hammond and Josh with Eagan TV. Thank you so much.
Excitement in the Eagan stands as the Cats are moving. Jacobson, touchdown, 6 points, Eagan!